Do you ever find yourself feeling confused by the dismissive avoidant attachment style, wondering what their patterns of texting and communication really mean? Maybe you find yourself trying to read between the lines to decide if this person is interested in you or not. So, in this video, what I want to cover is four texting habits of the dismissive avoidant attachment style, specifically when they are not interested in somebody that they might have been seeing or might have been on a date with. And this will help you really identify if this person is interested in investing in the relationship further or not. So, texting habit number one is that they don't answer for very long periods of time, or perhaps just leave conversations unanswered altogether. And I think sometimes when we watch videos or we learn things about the dismissive avoidant and we realize that, hey, sometimes dismissive avoidants really need that space or that independence or that autonomy. I think sometimes it's really easy to fall into the trap of justifying things like this, like, oh, they're not answering, but that's just who they are. That's okay. But what I want to make clear is that when a dismissive avoidant is just not answering, not showing up, specifically in that dating stage, when that neurochemistry of phenylethylamine and attraction and all these different things are heightened, if they're not showing up, that's generally not a good sign. And it's generally a sign that, hey, if they're not, and I don't mean, by the way, that they don't answer and then they, you know, a few hours later or the very next day say, hey, so sorry, like my phone died, or whatever it is, and then acknowledge it. I mean, they just don't answer conversations, and especially if this happens fairly frequently. So it is a really important sign to pay attention to. And it really goes back to the end of the day. It's this idea or concept that as much as we can understand somebody and where they're coming from, we really have to judge how a relationship is going and discern that by the actions of somebody, right? By how do you want to be with somebody who really doesn't maintain conversations with you on an ongoing basis? Is that a standard that you have in a relationship to be able to communicate, right? So just really taking heed to some of these things and being able to pay attention is important. Number two, you get one word answers a lot of the time. And sometimes dismissive avoidance, it's really interesting. I find that dismissive avoidance naturally close conversations more than they open them. So I used to sit with dismissive avoidant clients and we would go through some of their texting and they would share stuff with me or show me their messages. And I would always point out to DAs, because it was this big common pattern, that they close conversations. And it was often people they were interested in, right? It was things like somebody would say, oh, hey, how's your day going? And the person might say, um, my day's been going great. Thanks for asking. Right. And the DA might have thought with this person they were interested in that that was them, like, giving a detailed response or answer. Whereas, opening conversation, see how that closes conversation? Oh, my day was great. Thanks for asking. It's like saying the conversation's done indirectly. But opening conversation might have been, hey, this happened in my day today, maybe sharing something about the day, and then saying, how about you? How's your day going? What have you been up to? Like, that continues the conversation, it opens it. And DAs often miss the mark on that, because they don't have a lot of in depth modeling for communication. However, dismissive avoidance, when they constantly give a one word answer and somebody says, hey, how are you? Good. How's your day been going? Good. These sorts of like one word answers, those are generally very indicative of like somebody not wanting to show up, to maintain a conversation, to open up conversation as a whole. Now, sometimes, when you've been dating a DA for a long time, maybe you've been dating somebody for a couple of years, sometimes somebody's busy or on a meeting at the same time, or things are busy, and there can be moments of that, but that's not the pattern, that's the exception, right? And there's a really big difference. And by the way, if you want to understand a little bit more, I'll give you the two other dating habits, or texting habits, I mean, in the dating stage. I'll give you the two other habits in just a moment. But if you want to do a deeper dive into understanding the dismissive avoidant across the different stages of relationships, so like how they are in the dating stage, and then in the honeymoon stage, and then what happens when the power struggle starts, and all the different things that you need to know, look out for, and also strategies to mitigate problems in those relationships, and beyond the power struggle stage, the stability, commitment, bliss stages of relationship. If you want to check out a course that talks about how the dismissive avoidant is in all of those different stages, you can actually use the coupon code with you. And that coupon code will give you 25% off to PDS for life, for any course that you choose or any subscription to all the courses. And the course you're looking for to really understand how the DA shows up in all the different stages is the Advanced Dismissive Avoidant course. And it really takes you through all the different habits, all the different things to pay attention to, watch out for, the different red flags, and the exact strategies you need to use to mitigate those potential problems through proper communication, through sharing your needs, through asking the appropriate questions to understand their needs, and to be able to just in a step-by-step manner work through some of the things that are likely to pop up at each of those different stages. It's like the handbook for for dating a DA. And obviously it just goes into so much more detail than I can ever put in a video, and is so much more helpful than anything I can put in like a 10-minute segment on YouTube. So anyway, so number three, of the habit of dismissive avoidant when they're not interested is they make plans over text, maybe with you, and maybe because you initiated them, but then they never follow through. So you might say, hey, let's get together on Friday. And they say, yeah, that sounds good. And then Friday comes and they drop off the map. They're just not there. They don't answer. They don't show up. And this brings me to habit number four. They may not even acknowledge that. They might just, you say, hey, what's going on? Are we still getting together? No answer, radio silence, to then be followed up maybe a week later with, hey, how are you? Right? Just sort of like popping up out of the blue and not acknowledging, not taking the time or putting in the effort to acknowledge where you're coming from. And DAs don't necessarily do this to like be hurtful or to send a message or to do something, to tear somebody down in any way. But if there isn't enough commitment and investment, they don't often feel like they owe it to somebody to be able to share that. Or sometimes they fear conflict so much they just avoid having that conversation altogether to say, hey, sorry, I didn't get back to you. This is what came up, apologies. Like there tends to be this lack of accountability. And I just want to go back to this idea that, I don't want to demonize DAs in any way, but with any attachment style, whoever it is, DA, FA, AP, secure, whoever it is, you just want to make sure that you're going by the actions more than the words, right? Or more than what you understand about them and can have compassion for, right? So we can have compassion that, hey, this is the reason this person communicates this way because they probably didn't learn a lot of healthier relational skills at times, often didn't get a lot of proper modeling for how to work through things, how to be in touch with their own feelings, how to show up to be respectful of other feelings at times in specific ways that most people would expect. And we can have compassion that, hey, that comes from an emotional neglect. It's not their fault, right? It's painful. However, if you're on the receiving end of it, it doesn't mean you shouldn't have boundaries with things that don't feel good for you, that don't land well, that hurt, right? And really being mindful for those boundaries in general so that you can show up for yourself and not feel like you're investing in a situation that might just be a one-way street. So for DAs that are not interested, these are the things that you're going to see. These are the things to keep your eyes out for. And I hope this makes a whole lot of sense. Again, you can use that 25% off coupon code below for any of our courses, for the All Access Pass, for all the webinars I do. It all comes together, like all the courses, all the free webinars that come with the courses each week. There's 4 of them. You can ask me your questions personally. All that good stuff is the link below with the with you coupon code. And obviously with that comes the Dismissive Avoidant Handbook or Advanced Dismissive Avoidant Relationship course that talks about all the different stages. So thank you so much for watching and for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you are enjoying this content, and I will see you in the next video.